that we fight for each night. I'm a constitutionalist through and through, proud of this nation, the home of the true. Values that bind us from sea to shining sea, family, faith, and the land of the free. Hearts full of grit with a spirit that's real. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, coming to you live from the podcast layer. Once again, I have a candidate. The last couple of weeks I've kind of gone solo, and I actually enjoy interacting with people. I've met this man before. I've had him on my show one other time. He's a Marine, so we know he's not afraid of controversy. He's a father. And probably less important than that is that he is running for Congress. He's also a man of God. Welcome, Shane Lewis.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Good to have you back.
This is exciting.
So how's your campaign been going?
Good. We've just been plugging away, and we're getting support from all over the country, financially supporting my campaign. And there's a lot of great things that are happening. What I'm most excited about is this is a platform to let people know that you actually have people that are running that want to serve you, want to help you, want to help your family, understand what government really means and its role in your life, and I'm just excited to share that message with people.
Well,
so it's a lot of fun. And people when I speak, people are very excited. I provide points of view that they've never heard before.
We got to tell people where you are, and then you'll understand why that is.
So my name is Shane Lewis. I'm running for Congress in Congressional District 18, and boy, it's huge. It's 6 counties. Most of the places in California don't have 6 counties. Okay, parts of Fresno County, parts of Kings County, part of Monterey County, part of Santa Cruz County, part of Santa Clara County, and all of San Benito County. To give you an idea, it is from top to bottom. It is about 2.5 hours through the entire district. That is, if you look at San Jose and you want to go to LA, it's roughly halfway to Los Angeles. That's how big the district is.
So are you south of Monterey, like Big Sur? Is that far?
Oh yeah, we are in. We're at on the Monterey side. King City is, I think, my lowest city. Okay. So it's like an hour past Salinas, I think. So it's pretty far down there.
And everybody jokes about the left coast. Well, you're right up against that coast. I don't think you quite have the ocean strip of constituents, but right next to it.
Yeah, I'm not oceanfront property, that's for sure. But I'm the next best thing, So I get all that. I have all the. I mean, yeah, sure. People on the ocean, you guys are great, but really the people that are really, really great people, down to earth, hardy is the people in Salinas, a little bit further away from the coast and down into King City, into these communities that are largely isolated, but have a really firm identity, and a sense of community. So it's pretty awesome, actually.
Well, they're kind of a large part of your district would be a farm community. Is that a fair way to look at that?
Oh yes. So most of the district is farm country, and which is why water infrastructure is a huge part of my campaign and why I'm running and what I want to do. But I would say probably, if we were to break it down, I would say 6/8 of my district is primarily farming. A large part is farming. So, yeah. So then you have Watsonville, which is a big population, but even that's kind of a farming community. And then you have, of course, Santa Clara County, which we have a lot of dense populations, and San Jose, east part of San Jose, Morgan Hill, and Gilroy. Okay. So
there's
once you go past that, it starts turning into a farming community.
So that's your population base.
Santa Cruz, yeah. Watsonville is a big population base. Then there's Monterey County and Santa Clara counties. Big population base. Yeah.
Well, that's a big challenge because you've got kind of just two different cultures between something like Salinas, where I see them as, I don't know if I'd quite call them conservative, but I'd call them common sense kind of people that work for a living. They're not in ivory towers.
I would actually call them, and here's where I think that we have missed the mark, actually, where government is missing the mark. They're looking at people in urban and rural areas and different interests, and that is true. There are different interests. But as members of Congress, what we need to first try and formulate in our head is, what do they have in common? And so the support structures between where they're at, based on what they have in common, is what changes. It's not the people. The people still care about the same thing. And that one thing that they have in common is their family. So the different infrastructure needs, there might be different infrastructure needs. There might be different affordability needs. But it all centers on what we want. What is the purpose of their government? To empower parents to raise their kids the way that they want to raise their kids, and support them in a way that edifies and strengthens the family. And for me, I'll just say the reason why I think that is it actually goes back to the Constitution. When they founded the Constitution during the North Carolina Ratifying Convention, the Federalists said that the Constitution was impressed upon the individual. And the Anti-Federalists said, well, if that's the case, then we need an individual Bill of Rights to make sure that the government overreach doesn't occur like it did on the states. So basically what that means...
Oh, I think you're cutting out.
The Constitution is impressed on the individual. Yeah, I'm sorry. I had a phone call. I had to discard it. Anyway, since it's impressed on the individual, even though we have a Bill of Rights, it actually still focuses in on the individual, even at the federal level, and then from there also in the family, because that's the most basic institution, and then everything else is based on that interaction between the families. So when we start talking about infrastructure, things like that, we have to go back down to the family level, to the individual level, and make sure that we are supporting those structures and those individuals.
So you said supporting, your opponent's approach would be that they would decide for the individual, and that they would then take all the choices away and just tax rich people. And that, I don't know, there's a profound difference in philosophy. What is the role of government?
Oh, well, the role of government it's very clear. It's not something that we have to make up. You don't have to look to any politician, anyone watching. You don't have to turn to a politician and say, what's my role in government? Because I think that's actually what they've ended up doing is they've turned the tables. The government has turned the tables on the people and saying, well, what role do I have in society? Tell me what I'm supposed to do in society. rather than understanding that the government is supposed to support them. And so here is the short answer. The short answer is it's in the preamble. I don't have to make anything up. It's actually already written down in the Constitution. And so the ultimate goal of government is very simple. It's to allow you to secure your own blessings of liberty. Government doesn't do it for you. It just makes sure it puts things in place so that you can do it for yourself. And that's why infrastructure is so important, because as communities grow, infrastructure needs to be updated, right? And that's why I keep harping on water, because water has not been updated since the 1960s. And here we have communities that are struggling to survive, and we have a government that denies them the ability to do so because they won't update their water infrastructure. They won't update their electricity infrastructure, their power grid. What they do is they keep taking farmland, which is going to make our food even more expensive, from the farmers, and in order to supply electricity, which is
so that's the solar
incredibly
farms.
inefficient.
That's the solar farms.
Yeah. So anyway, the way government does that is four things. I don't want to get into the weeds too much, but the other four things in the preamble to the Constitution is establish justice, assure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, and promote the general welfare. Those are the four legs you need that every person needs to secure their own blessings of liberty. It's the legs of the chair. So you can sit down and make sure that you can do the things that you need to make sure you're raising your kids with the values that you want them to have. And right now it's turned on its head. You're basically supporting the government and the four legs, establishing justice. They're basically relying on the individual to do all the work and taxing the heck out of people instead of being a support structure for families and individuals. So that's essentially the issue that we have right now. And at the root of it is the tax system. So
when you have to make a tough decision, what do you do? What process do you go through when you're maybe not sure what to do?
I always default with in government. So in government, I always default with what's my role? What is the role of Congress? And the thing is, I will say that our government's not making those tough decisions right now. They're basically just throwing money. Their answer is just, I'm going to throw money. But whenever you actually are genuine about your answer, what you're probably going to do is not satisfy everyone. You're going to find the best answer for society and say, we're going to have to work through this together. There's not going to be an easy solution where we're not going to have to work together. We are going to have to work together. But we understand that when we do that, in the end, it makes society stronger, community stronger, and we're much better off. So communities that suffer together get ahead together. So.
Well, it sounds like you're trying to be the adult in the room. There's only one problem with that. And I love that idea, but there is a problem. So many career politicians are only concerned with the next election, not with doing what is right. Your opponent has been in government for 30 years. I believe she's 78 years old. And she's been in government, well, almost as long as I've worked. That's a little scary. I don't think she has solutions. You bring something different. What is that difference?
The difference is I see how government has robbed me of being able to represent my kids. I see how how people, not just schools, but people in generally are afraid to express their opinions. And I see that your government needs you to value things, and you need to let them know what you value in order to understand what the right answer is, because the answer always centers on the individual, you guys, what you need in order to succeed and direct your families. Because when parents are able to direct their families, we actually have a very, strong community and a very strong nation. But when we have parents that are afraid to espouse their opinions, I mean, I was talking to a business owner the other day, and she was like, my business, I feel for these homeless people, but and I understand we need to provide for them, but I have my business. She literally was taking everything else into account before her own interests. And I told her, I said, look, that's not what your government needs. What your government needs is to know what you need. It's not your job to worry about the homeless. That is government's job. And somewhere along the line, government has convinced people that it's wrong to be concerned about your family and about the needs that you have for them and wanting to take care of them and wanting them to grow up and prosper and have a say-so in what your kids value and what your communities value. And it's just turned on its head. And what I am telling people is, I want you to tell me what matters to you, because I have no right to tell you what matters. And what that does is, instead of making society turn against each other, it allows everyone to value whatever they want and make sure that government just provides that support structure in order to make that happen. So,
well, I think we have a moral obligation to take care of the homeless, but not as much at the government level. I see it as a believer in Christ, I need to be part of the solution to help fix my community. Now, that might be my issue. It might be some other issue, but I see that as a moral obligation. The left sees that as it's truly the government's job.
Yeah. So I'll say this. The way things are crafted, they're not really crafted. They're very simple arguments that can be debunked very easily. It's always crafted as a binary choice, as a government takes care of people or the homeless go, and I'm not saying you do, I'm just saying in generally, the argument is, if government doesn't do anything about homelessness, then it's just going to run rampant. No one's going to take care of them. And you bring up a very good argument that, if we have strong families, our communities matter to us. Mm-hmm. And that means that, like you're saying, we will be engaged in our communities. We'll have the resources necessary in order to provide for the homeless. But it's not just providing for the homeless, right? It's also communities hold each other accountable. That's how it works. We just don't allow people to do whatever they want in societies and communities, because it's everyone's communities. That's why we have laws in our communities that say you're not going to be able to squat on the sidewalk. And everyone is expected to do their part to make sure that the communities are upheld and the families are upheld. And I think what the state of California is doing, and unfortunately the Democrats in Lofgren, is viewing these people as purely victims that are incapable of doing anything for themselves. And actually, that's how they view everyone, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. Even if you do have a job, they think it's their right to tell you what to do with your family and what to value. And if you don't agree with them, that somehow you're morally deficient.
Well, but that's the Obama perspective. Remember when he said you didn't earn that when he was talking to an entrepreneur?
I do remember that.
He saw it as it's the government. Well, if you've already espoused that you view liberty through the lens of the individual, which is the way our Constitution was designed, what you're up against is a whole lot of people that view society through the lens of the good of the group. The problem with that is we lose choice along the way, because somebody has to make the decisions. And if you're in the wrong minority, you don't have any rights anymore, unlike our representative republic. Go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is, yes, but it's not just that, right? We have to look and see how our republic changed over the years. The massive change was taxation. Taxation has honestly We think in terms of how things are supposed to be, how they ought to be. We don't actually look and see Republicans in general. They don't look and see how things actually are and say, based on how we've changed things in our society, how does that interface with our liberty, right? So there's incremental changes that we can make rather than going for the whole enchilada, and really what we need to do is align the tax system with what our country represents. And I'll give you an example. I was trying to get Grok to debate me on healthcare this morning. So I gave it constraints, and then we were debating it, and then I espoused my position. And here's the position. The position is that healthcare, if we take the Democrats' position and we assume that it is a right, what a right represents is something that you have separate from government. It's not, government doesn't provide you that right. It is separate from government. So, for instance, businesses get to write off 100% of their health care expenses right off the top. 100%. And so if health insurance is a way to make sure that we remain healthy, we can pursue our liberty, we can pursue happiness, that we can continue life being healthy and productive, then that money we spend on our premiums and any other money in relation to that should be 100% tax deductible off of our taxable income. Period. The end. The government doesn't get any money of that. And that also includes if you have a mother, because healthcare expenses change as seasons changes. So if you're taking care of your mother and you're providing health care for her, you get to actually deduct that off too, because that's an added expense from what you're spending every year. That is going to be a burden, but it is a great burden to be able to take care of your family, right? Than people who took care of you. And so those types of things should be taken care of before government ever gets a cut of anything.
So you want to simplify, is that, because that sounds like a simplification, and then you're making important parts of income, if possible, untouchable by the government.
That's exactly right, because in a tax system, that is the only wall of separation you have. And now that we are taxed, the only wall of separation that we actually have, and to make sure that government respects our rights, is through the tax system. It requires government to put their money or put our money where their mouth is. If they truly believe that we have rights, and if they're calling these things rights, if they truly believe that they are, then they are untouchable by government. They don't get a dime of it. And that also includes gym memberships, gym classes, gym equipment, self-defense courses, armed and unarmed. All of these things are tax deductible off of your taxable income, because what you're doing is you're being proactive so that government doesn't incur this healthcare expense. And so from that perspective, all of these things are not taxable because government doesn't need that money, because you're doing it on your own. And that's where I think we need to go now. We need to understand that, first off, taxation directly impacts the people. And it's also a way where fraud, waste, and abuse happens, because if they take their money right off the top and you have really no recourse whether you can keep that money or not, you're just a tax ID. They don't really care about you, and they can do whatever they want. And what we have right now is every 2 or 4 years, that's the only time you matter, during election season.
Right.
But that needs to change.
What's the number one issue that, as you go around and you talk to potential constituents, people in your district, what are they telling you? And does it vary depending on what part of the district?
Well, I mean, in the farming communities, it's really a lot about water. I mean, almost exclusively about water. And honestly, in the city, it's affordability. And so what you have to find is how are those things connected? And I'll give you an example of how they're connected. If you look at how much wages have gone up since 2012, or 2014, excuse me, that's when, and the reason why I picked 2014 is because of ACA. So we want a common starting point for everything that I'm going to talk about, and that is when ACA started.
Affordable Care Act for my people out there.
The Obamacare Act, yeah. So since 2014, I may screw this up a little bit. So electricity, I believe, has gone up 111%. Water has gone up 90%. Gas has gone up 50%. Housing has gone up 140%. Wages have only gone up 74%. So what that means is if you're a low income or a middle income family, you actually had more money back in 2014 than you do right now. So what are families most concerned with? And this is common to everyone, okay? This is why families looking at things, how it impacts families is so important, because if you fix that, you fix a lot of what's going on in society right now. What that means is, like I said, middle and low income families have less more. They have approximately 40% less money now than they did back in 2014 after they take out all of these expenses. And so if we take care of infrastructure, and by the way, what are the first things that a family has to worry about? Family has to worry about, first, place to stay, electricity, water, food, those four things, right? So those are the first four things they have to worry about. And you're spending more money on those four things. What comes next? Healthcare, right? So now you got to worry about healthcare. But if you're spending more money on these four things, what money do you have for healthcare? The answer is you don't, because healthcare has gone up over 112%, which is why people now are saying to government, because they're being squeezed to death, I can't afford health care. What are you going to do for me? Those five things, all of those five things are heavily regulated by government. Every single one.
So the free market doesn't reign, so capitalism's solution, the greed of capitalism's solution, because people want to make a profit, there's where they call it greedy. But the crazy thing is it results in competition, and it typically lowers prices.
Yes, but what's even more crazy is the reason why government needs to, we need to find a way, and I think my solutions will help find a way to get it back to a market solution. I think government is responsible for updating the infrastructure, and then maybe we can find some market solution. But what's actually happening is that since government is involved and just intimately involved in regulating these five sectors, people don't see it as government getting in the way. It's hidden from them. All they see is that, my gosh, things are so much more expensive. My government's not helping me. You're right. Your government's not helping you. It's hurting you because they're not updating the infrastructure. This is all a result of your government, and they smile while they are destroying your family and your livelihood. And by the way, GDP over the same period for the U.S. went up 78%. So the wages went up by 74%, GDP went up by 78%, which means your wages have literally pretty much mirrored the GDP across the United States. So we're not seeing a disparity between a capitalist structure and wages. What we're seeing is a disparity between wages and your government pricing you out of the market. And I'll say one other thing. Pricing out of the market. If you have less money because of all of these things being regulated, and the individuals in a community can't buy a house because they're being priced out, what does that allow to happen? It allows corporations to come in and buy the houses in your communities because there's no competition for them. So it's not just this is the market price. It's this is the market price plus this is the regulation cost, and plus these are your wages which aren't keeping up, which amounts to you can't afford a house.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So,
in California, you're looking at a little over $100,000 is just the regulation, not counting the land, the labor, or the materials to build the house.
right, and I think honestly, and in some areas it's probably even more than that. It's probably more than $100,000.
Well, I live in a fairly inexpensive county compared to those coastal communities, and the Coastal Commission doesn't mess with the interior very much.
Yeah.
Which, they're famous for adding, economic impact reports and environmental reports and things that every one of those times where government shows its hand, we got to pay, which means everything gets more expensive.
That's why when I get up to Congress, the one thing that I want to be known as is the water boy. So they can call me water boy on Congress floor if they want, because I want everybody to know that infrastructure is one of my main points that I want to solve for CD-18 and California, right? Because what electricity, you can leverage electricity off of water, hydroelectric power. I would actually like to see a nuclear power plant in California. So, and it might be fun to espouse that, to get people, all of these environmentalists to start creating a ruckus,
Well, they want clean energy. Every energy source, there's some trade-off. Somehow it affects the environment. It seems to me that France has pulled off small-scale nuclear, where they're recycling the rods when it's old. They're serving, a 40,000 people in a community, and they get all their power from nuclear. And it's safe and it's efficient. Why has the U.S. turned its back on this? We don't need the mega power plant. We can have the little ones that can take care of serious needs.
Yeah, I agree. As a matter of fact, there's a small-scale power plant in Canada. It's a very small footprint. It's probably, I would probably say it's maybe at most 2 acres, 3 acres. Produces over 500 megawatts of energy. And the waste from a nuclear power plant is very small. And like you're saying, we are learning every day how to recycle things. And so the opportunities are only going to get better. They're only going to get better.
Outside of infrastructure, water, and basically soaring costs, what else are your people telling you? What would be the next 2 issues in your district? And what would you do about them?
The next 2 issues in my district. Okay, so the next thing is parental rights, especially in California. So there is, you remember AB 1955, which allowed teachers to keep the well-being of students from their families. That Supreme Court ruled unconstitutional. Well, the state has already said that it's going to try, and it's going to try again, So it's coming again, folks. And the reason why the state can do that is HIPAA at the federal level, which is privacy rights, which oversees privacy rights of individuals, and they have used HIPAA in order to define the privacy rights of our children.
Well, yes, but if people were 18, that's entirely different than minors.
I'm sorry?
Well, but we're talking about minors.
That's right.
And so that's insane that they think that HIPAA applies to minors. Oh, wait, it does in California if they want to hide an abortion.
So it's not just abortion, it's also getting pregnant. It's also other critical choices where the parents need to be involved in the kid's life. They need to help navigate their kid through these difficult choices. But the state, what the state has done, and it's not the state's fault actually. A lot of the time when you see an issue at a government level, it's not that government level that's the problem, it's the level above it. And what the federal government has done on HIPAA is it has given the state immense power with no restraint. That's essentially what it has done with HIPAA. And since there's no restraint, there's no purpose. So the restraint for HIPAA is based in its purpose, not guardrails that are arbitrary. It's guardrails that actually have a purpose. And what I want to do with HIPAA when I get into Congress is we're going to refine HIPAA. We're going to do an overhaul such that it prevents states from taking away parental rights and isolating children from their parents on these important positions. It maintains the child's right that the state says the child has a right to privacy at age 12. But what it does do is it says, okay, even though they have a right, it will be mandatory for the parents to be informed of a major issue for their child, and then it promotes. Can you guys still hear me?
We can still hear you, so keep talking.
Okay, hang on.
Yeah, we lost your video.
Yeah, it's my camera. I don't know why it decided to.
That's quite all right. We're down to about 7 minutes, so.
Okay, all right. So anyway, what it does is it just allows, it directs the state to support the family. Instead of coming between the family, it actually strengthens the family and helps the parents navigate their kids through the difficult decisions, and it maintains parental responsibility all the way through age 18. It does not allow a state to come between you and your child.
Who would be your allies in Congress? Because obviously it's a legislative branch. It's not like you can't be like Newsom and wave your magic wand. You got to find people to work with to get something done.
Oh, I think there's plenty of people in Congress that want to get things done. Jim Jordan, Ted Cruz. I'm sure some of the Democrats would too. Some of the Democrats don't believe in DSA. Once they understand, like one of the things they don't understand is illegal immigration right now is reinstitutionalizing slavery in this country. I think I've spoken to that before. It's very similar. These states are getting apportionment, 100% apportionment, where they were only getting 3/5 before, and they're getting rewarded for this practice. And I think once states understand that, you have different states that are being disenfranchised by what border states are doing, and they're not getting the representation that they should in Congress. I think what you're going to find is on a lot of issues, once we understand how the tax system is interfering with liberty and how it's destroying what this country stands for, I think we're going to find a lot of Congress members that are going to be on board with this and want to reestablish our government, our tax system under what our government represents. So I'm actually really excited for what's to come.
So you're a return to first principles guy? Was that a fair way to put that?
I am a first principles guy.
Okay.
The only way you can have a government is the only way our government works. The only reason our government exists, the legitimacy of our government, is that people have freedom and liberty.
Well, you're a family man, so I assume you're in this in large part because you want a great future for your kids.
I do.
What's the biggest thing? What is there any low-hanging fruit? Your first day in Congress, what is it you could propose that has a chance of being passed that could help your kids' future?
I think, honestly, President Trump is now defending our kids from these sex change operations. They're going to be held responsible now, and it's going to be child abuse. I think if we focus in on the role of government and supporting our families, I think it's going to be, I don't know that there's going to be anything that I can change in my first days. It's going to take time because we've been down this road for so long. But what I will introduce is HIPAA and making sure that your state, and this is probably the most important thing, that the state can't use the power given to the federal government to destroy families. That's probably the most important aspect that I can see. But I'm trying to think if there's one thing that I could get done. I guess it depends on whether it's tax season. Well, tax season will be coming up, so maybe we can get that healthcare initiative passed.
The reason I asked that question is because momentum is built with wins. And if all you do is go in and slam your head against the wall, and I'm basically with you. We are very aligned on a lot of things.
Uh-huh.
But you need to find ways to find wins. So I'd think about that one. We're down to about 2 minutes. So campaign information, how to find you, and why you're hopeful.
Okay. So my website is ShaneLewisForCongress.com. Again, ShaneLewisForCongress.com. And I'm hopeful because every family, whether you are Democrat, Republican, NPP, when we talk about government first principles, what we're talking about is families. That's really what we're talking about. And everyone has in common the one thing that they're most concerned about is their family. And so all we need to do in this country to correct our system is to focus on our families. Communities will thrive. We'll have justice that's established automatically because our Constitution will be aligned with the people in it. And we're going to have a thriving economy. We're going to have everything. Basically, what we have been ignoring for the past 60 years will start taking care of. And so I guess that's why I'm hopeful. I mean, everyone wants the same thing. We all want the best for our families. And the only thing I want to do is support your families. That's it. So you'll have someone in Congress that will support everything that you want to do with your kids because I'm not going to get involved.
Well, and you're not trying to be a career politician.
No, I'm not. I want to get up there for 6 years. And I'm hoping, there is one thing actually. There's a couple things. In education, two things I want to pursue. One is civics in the classroom, grade 2 through 12. We need to make sure that citizenry is well versed. And second thing is financial independence. So that's it.
Let's hope those can happen. I wish you the best of luck. It's ShaneLewis.com. You can also
Shane Lewis for Congress.com.
You can also be found on social media, Facebook and Instagram.
Yes, that and X. Yeah.
And X. Okay. Well, Shane, I wish you the best of luck. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist. And folks, here's somebody that I think you can believe in. Get out, help him get elected. We need to shift California. We need to move our country in the right direction. Let's go out and make a difference.